I'm Rolene Marks. Welcome to Modiin and Beyond. Join me every Sunday between 3 and 4 on Radio Modiin as we take a look at what's happening in Modiin, Israel, and beyond. It's not Sunday, it's Tuesday. It's time for Modiin and Beyond on Radio Modiin with me, Rolene Marks. And I'm very, very excited for today's show because I have with me in the studio Adam Levick, the co-editor of Camera UK. We're going to be joined by somebody who I've been trying to get for ages, Kinsey Scofield. She's a royal expert and the host of the To Die For Daily podcast. And of course, rounding it up with everybody and my favorite entertainment correspondent, Yael Kinar. Making sure everything runs on time is our engineer, Pe'er Atia, behind the scenes, giving me a big thumbs up because so far I haven't blown anything up. But make yourself a coffee, get comfortable. We're going to be unpacking quite an important issue coming up. And remember, if you guys want to be featured on Modiin and Beyond, please be in touch with me via my Facebook page. Or if you want to advertise your business, that is the place to do it as well. But join me in welcoming to the studio again, Adam Levick, co-editor, Camera UK. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's always a pleasure. Now, you and I are going to discuss an issue that has become very, very divisive in Israeli society. It's an important issue, but it's one that I think we need to start having these difficult discussions, and that is the divisions that are growing between different groups. And we're not going to get into the merits pro or against the proposed judicial overhauls, but you and I spend a fortune of time on social media, defending Israel, making the case for Israel against some really, really scurrilous accusations. What has been your experience in the last couple of weeks?
On social media in particular?
On social media and even just amongst groups of friends and acquaintances.
Yeah. Look, it's a very divisive issue, and I've argued to my friends in the U.S. that probably this is the most divisive issue since I made Aliyah. And however, it's also important to remember that Twitter isn't real life. And people say that, but it's true. I mean, you find the loudest voices on Twitter and sometimes Facebook, but it doesn't necessarily represent the emotions and views of most people. I think, within my community, my circle of friends and family in Modiin and within Greater Israel, I think there is the capacity to talk about this divisive issue rationally. I think people are very informed. I think outside of the slogans and snarky comments you see on Twitter, there's a lot of people on both sides of the issue that are well informed. And people oftentimes ask me whether I'm an optimist or a pessimist. I think I'm a realist, but I'm also someone who doesn't catastrophize. And I don't think that this is going to be the end of Israel. I think that we'll get through this. Again, leaving aside the merits of the particular proposals of the current government, I think that despite the protests, despite the social media, energy that's so negative, I think we will get past this. And I think it's important to remember that Israel's faced much more difficult issues in the past. I'm thinking national security issues, but look, I think that let's try not to view this through the worst possible lens and just think of this as a feisty democracy engaging in the mechanics of democracy. That is, engaging almost entirely peacefully within our democratic frameworks, within the free press, within social media, about something that people feel very passionately about. So I'm not going to say that everything's hunky-dory, but I am going to say that I think we need to just relax a little bit and keep the volume down and do our best to elevate the conversation rather than lower the conversation.
Well, those are important points because, first of all, it doesn't matter what side of the reforms you sit on. Watching Israelis exercise their democratic rights all over the country is something quite extraordinary. It's peaceful. You only have to look at similar protests around the world to see that they don't go off as peacefully and as diverse as they are in Israel. But also, the language that is being used on both sides right now is extremely inflammatory. Our president, Isaac Herzog, warned that we are headed towards the abyss. We could see ourselves plunged into civil war. You and I have been the recipients of some really fruity language, fascists, anarchists, gullible idiots, a whole lot of different insults. But the point is that, as you've just mentioned, we do have two groups of people feeling very, very strongly about the issues at hand. How do we start to get people to discuss these issues like adults and not just resort to attack?
Well, by just, kind of zoning out the most inflammatory and incendiary voices and insisting on a fact-based conversation. I try very hard on Twitter. And I say Twitter because I'm kind of addicted to Twitter.
You and me both.
But I try very hard to keep my tweets within arguments about logic, about facts, about history. There are some people on Twitter, and these are my favorite people on Twitter, that elevate the conversation. And I think, at camera, we often try to elevate the conversation, right? If you look at our website, you look at fact-based commentary, analysis, and, pushbacks against inaccuracies in the media. But we don't resort to name-calling, mudslinging. We don't resort to ad hominem attacks. We stick to the facts. We don't assume bad faith in our opponents. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people on social media that don't care about that are, attack people based on who they are rather than what their arguments are. So look, there's no magic formula, but I would say that those of people out there listening who really are concerned about the level of vitriol is simply not to go there, not to engage those people, but instead to elevate the conversation. And I think there's more people willing to elevate the conversation, and really smart people within Israeli media and social media stars that are elevating the conversation and making this a serious conversation about a serious issue. So I think we just need to amplify those sober, sane voices.
Hugely, hugely important, and it's always interesting to me that the ones that are hurling the roughest insults always seem to hide behind an avatar or an assumed identity. But speaking of camera, your organization does phenomenal work, especially in exposing bias in the media, and you have exposed something quite extraordinary going on with France 24 Arabic. Can you tell us a little bit about your expose and what led up to that being exposed?
Okay, so we have an Arabic department, which, just to be clear, is focused on monitoring and holding accountable Arabic outlets that are associated with Western media outlets, such as BBC Arabic, Independent Arabia, Sky Arabia, and France 24. So our researchers, in addition to monitoring the content of their news and their reporting, also looks at the social media profiles of some of these reporters, which, as everyone knows, who people on social media sometimes let down their guard, and they might not say something on France 24's website, but on social media they let it rip and they just go for whatever it is that they're feeling.
The internet is forever, people.
Yeah, exactly. So on the heels of our success with BBC Arabic, which we've been able to, and I say we, I'm talking about the royal we. My colleagues at Camera Arabic have been able to hold them account and get dozens of corrections over the past year on inaccurate and sometimes inflammatory content on their broadcasts and on their website. So we've been looking a little bit more in France 24, and we found an example of at least 4 France 24 journalists who have spewed some of the really most vile anti-Semitic comments on Twitter and I think on Facebook. So we exposed that, and we translated, and we informed France 24 that we have evidence that 4 of your journalists have engaged in explicitly anti-Semitic comments, including praise for Adolf Hitler, which it's hard to be much more anti-Semitic than that. And so they immediately suspended 4 of the journalists pending an investigation. After the investigation, they fired one, but unfortunately, they allowed 3 of the 4 to remain employed. And at least one of the 3 that they decided to remain as a journalist for France 24 engaged in a pro-Hitler comment.
What is their reason? Did they give any reason for allowing them to keep their jobs?
Well, they said that given their career has generally been consistent with their ethical standards, that this was an anomaly rather than a pattern. And look, I think they were just trying to save face. I think that I think there might have been a lot of pressure on them to keep those 3 journalists, and like the one journalist they decided to fire was just a kind of like a token to say, look, we did something. At the end of the day, I'm proud of what Camera Arabic did. I think it exposed, again, another example of the level of Jew hatred and also pro-terrorism comments on social media by many Arabic journalists that are associated with Western news outlets. So I think this is a good kind of learning moment for I think anyone that follows the Arabic media. The result, I think, it's shameful that the France 24 allowed 3 of the journalists to remain on air, but I'm happy that they at least took it seriously and at least one of them was fired, because again, it's hard to get worse than praising Adolf Hitler. Like if that doesn't cross the line, then what does?
Surely this can be elevated to the French government, that these are the type of broadcasters going out there, these are the type of comments they are making, extremely inflammatory, especially since we've heard the wonderful sound bites coming from the French leadership about their commitment to fight anti-Semitism.
Yeah, well, we actually have, and this, some of your listeners might be interested, we have I believe it's March 23rd, I think it's on Thursday, I could be wrong on the date, but we're having a webinar, Camera's having a webinar about Camera Arabic, about our success and about our work in Camera Arabic, and it's in English. So anybody who wants to learn more or ask questions like the one you just did might want to register. There's still openings for that webinar. They can find information on our website, camera.org.
Well, it certainly put Arabic broadcasters on notice that, we do notice everything. And if you are going to use ugly anti-Semitic slurs, there are organizations like Camera who are out there and who are going to expose you.
Right, and our Arabic researchers, it's important to note, don't just translate Arabic to English. They're not just translators. They also understand very deeply Arabic culture, Arabic politics, so they can contextualize comments in a way that mere translators can't. So they are being watched, they are being monitored, and again, consistent with Camera's mission, our goal is to promote accurate reporting about Israel, but also to, we have a second mission, that is to expose and combat anti-Semitism, at least to the degree that the journalists that we monitor engage in that on social media. But we have a very good Camera Arabic crew, and I suggest that anybody out there who wants to see our work, they can actually see a lot of it at Camera UK, because a lot of the outlets that they monitor, BBC Arabic and BBC and India Arabia, are British outlets, so a lot of the Camera Arabic's work has been translated to English and is on our site.
Has the British government weighed in on some of the invective on some of their sites, like the BBC? The BBC is a state-funded broadcaster. It is the public broadcaster. Yeah,
the BBC actually is going to be under review. There's going to be a parliamentary inquiry into BBC content about Israel and Jews, which is a big victory for us. This is something that we've been pushing. We've been pushing for greater exposure of BBC's content about Israel and Jews for a long time. So there's going to be a cross-parliamentary inquiry, both by members of the House of Lords as well as members of the House of Commons, and it's going to be a in-depth and hopefully enlightening investigation that hopefully will have serious consequences and hopefully will hold BBC to account. So we're really excited about that. Camera UK will be submitting evidence, years and years of evidence of how they distort the news about Israel and turn a blind eye about anti-Semitism. So we're really looking forward to this. We don't have all the details, but it's going to be this year.
That is very, very important, especially in light of the Balin report. Do we have any hopes of the Balin report? For any of your listeners, or our listeners who don't know, the Balin report was commissioned by Malcolm Balin. He's a former editor who sifted through tens of thousands of hours and images of the BBC coverage of Israel. That report has been buried. Can we put the pressure on the BBC to release the Balin report?
No. I think that ship has sailed. Look, we actually, I mean, you know, it's a good question because the fact that they spent a lot of taxpayer money hiring lawyers to prevent the release of that report is, you know, just creates suspicion for any normal person. But we did learn through a contact that we have in High Place who read the report that there's nothing this was like 2004, so there's nothing necessarily earth-shattering for, you know, in 2023. I mean, in other words, it's shameful that they decided not to release the report, and there's no justification for it, but our understanding is that there's nothing that, if that report was revealed, would be necessarily enlightening about what's happening today. So, you know, people did the best they could, but I think that ship has sailed.
Can you give us your website details again?
Well, the main website is camera.org, and my website, meaning I co-edit Camera UK, is camerauk.org. And we also just, you know, I don't know how much time we have, but we also have a Camera on Campus website, cameraoncampus.org.
Very important.
Yeah, which fights and empowers college students to fight back against some of the horrible anti-Semitic abuse that they've been experiencing on campus. And we also have a Christian department and a Spanish department. So, you know, our tentacles, as they say, are all over the world.
Everywhere. Adam Levick, the co-editor of Camera UK. We're going to take a short music break. On the other side of this, I'm going to be talking all things royal and coronation with Kinsey Scofield.
I was born in a thunderstorm. I grew up overnight. I played alone, I played on my own. I survived. Hey, I wanted everything I never had, like the love that comes with life. I wore envy and I hated that, but I survived. I had a woman that took her to a place where all the demons go, where the wind don't change and nothing on the ground can ever grow. No hope, just lies, and you're taught to cry in your pillow. But I survived. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm I found solace in the strangest place, way in the back of my mind. I saw my life in a stranger's face, and it was mine. I had a woman that took her to a place where all the demons go, where the wind don't change and nothing in the ground can ever grow. No hope, just lies, and you're taught to cry in your pillow. But I survived. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. Took it out, but I'm still breathing. You 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 took it out, but I'm still breathing. I made every single mistake that you could ever possibly make. I took and I took and I took what you gave, but you never noticed that I was in pain. I knew what I wanted, I went on and got it. Did all the things that you said that I wouldn't. I told you that I would never be forgotten. I know in spite of you. And I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. You shut it out, but I can't hear a word you say. I'm talking loud, not saying much. I'm criticized, but how are bullets ricochet? Shoot me down, but I get up. I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Far away, is your voice. Sticks and stones may break my bones. Talking loud, not saying much. I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Far away, ricochet, you take your aim. Far away, shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am Stone heart, machine gun, firing at the ones who run. Stone heart, those bulletproof glass. Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am
שלטק מודיעין הוא מתחם עבודה שיתופי ליזמים וחברות. בשלטק תמצאו עמדות עבודה אישיות, משרדים סגורים, חדרי ישיבות מרווחים, מרחבי הדרכה משודרגים. בקיצור, כל מה שעסק בצמיחה צריך. שלטק, עסקים שגדלים יחד.
מחפשים חוויה משפחתית שוברת שגרה? דייט מוצלח ורומנטי? חוות צהלה מזמינה אתכם לרכיבת שטח חווייתית במיוחד בתוך הנוף עוצר הנשימה של עמק איילון. חוות צהלה, תתכוננו להתאהב. לפרטים 055-662-6773.
טרייד סטיישן, אפליקציית המסחר זוכת הפרסים. לסחור רק עם הטוב ביותר. אליט פלטפורמס, המקבצה הפיננסית שלכם.
ברוכות הבאות למכללה האקדמית לחינוך תלפיות בחולון. מכללה שהיא בית. בבית שלנו יש מרצים עם תשוקה לחינוך. סגל מנהלי עם תודעת שירות גבוהה. והמון יחס אישי לצד מצוינות אקדמית. אלפי בוגרות המכללה המובילות את שדה החינוך בישראל היא העדות הטובה ביותר, שמכללת תלפיות הינה המקום הנכון ביותר עבור מי שרוצה להצליח, להשפיע ולחנך את דור העתיד. כי החינוך מתחיל מהבית. לצד המתקנים הפיזיים המתקדמים, המערכים הטכנולוגיים והקמפוס המתחדש, אנו מציעים לכן 5 מסלולי לימוד לתואר ראשון. חינוך לגיל הרך, חינוך יסודי, חינוך על יסודי, חינוך מיוחד ואומנות. כך שכל סטודנטית תוכל לבחור את המסלול המתאים ביותר עבורה. במכללת תלפיות תמצאי את כל היתרונות במקום אחד, יחס אישי ותוכנית מותאמת אישית. קמפוס בוטיק חכם וחדשני, מרחק הליכה מתחנת הרכבת, כל זה במרכז הארץ. כולנו כאן בשבילך, מאמינים בך. צוות מכללת תלפיות.
מכללת תלפיות לחינוך, ללמוד לתואר ראשון עם החברות שלי בדרך שלי. זו תלפיות שלי.
רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים. רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים.
Welcome back to Radio Modiin, and I'm Rolene Marks. This is Modiin and Beyond. We seem to be having some technical difficulties cutting to Los Angeles, but somebody who I know so many of you love to hear on a weekly basis is our entertainment guru, our correspondent Yael Kinar. Welcome back to Modiin and Beyond.
Thank you. From Jerusalem, but my heart is also in Los Angeles, like your other guests.
Well, speaking of Los Angeles, we had a very special visitor last week. I'm very upset that he didn't give us advanced warning, and that is one Mr. Rob Lowe. Getting better with age, Yael. Getting better with age.
59 and fabulous. Rob Lowe, who was a teen star and sort of started his popularity with the Brat Pack and St. Elmo's Fire, and then had a resurgence later on, The West Wing, Parks and Recreation, very popular. He's written a book, he has a podcast, and he graced our holy land and holy city with a visit. We're not 100% clear on the reason. There were some rumors that he was filming something, and then other rumors that it was just a guy's trip. He's not Jewish. He was spotted at the hotel wearing a nice sparkling white kippah. He stayed at the King David Hotel, as one does, if one is extra fabulous. And we are happy to welcome him and all of his Hollywood friends. He is really in a good place in his life, which shows in his looks, but he's been sober for a long time. He practices meditation daily. He's been married for 30 years. He has 2 sons. What's not to love, Rob Lowe?
I do have to say that I'm a regular listener to his podcast called Literally with Rob Lowe. Outstanding. So, you know, he's very self-deprecating. If you want to listen to a fabulous fun and entertainment podcast, that's Literally with Rob Lowe. And he's a really, really good writer. I've read his autobiography, Stories I Only Tell My Friends. Very, very funny, very entertaining, and looking forward to reading the follow-up to that. So, Rob Lowe.
See, not just a pretty face. We have actual personality and brains sometimes as well, which is always delightful.
Not just a pretty face, but Rob, if you're listening, because hey, everyone does, call us. We'll welcome you personally next time. But somebody else that we need to talk about, Yael.
Yes. I'll just interject and say that we had another visitor here in the Middle East, but who didn't make the hop, skip, and a jump over to Israel, which is a Ms. Oprah Winfrey, who's been spending the last few days in Jordan, posting about it excessively on Instagram, and has left me with some FOMO.
What?
You may continue. Yes. Yeah, Jordan is not too far. Maybe there'll be a surprise visit. I don't know, but I have been following closely because she's so near yet so far.
Oprah, if you're listening, pop into our studio, come and chat to Yael Kinar. We always open for discussion, but I mean, we have to do this. We have to talk Gwyneth Paltrow.
Must we? We shall, and we will. That's what she wants us to do.
She wants us to
Our
talk.
Gwyneth.
Dear Gwyneth, also very talented actress, turned squadrillionaire entrepreneur with her, what's it called? Goop.
Yes,
her new,
her lifestyle brand.
Her lifestyle brand. I think it's for a certain lifestyle, though.
It is, yes. She's not targeting the paupers of society, and she has been very much mocked over these last few years as she continues to make tons of money, have a Netflix special, you know, have her own merchandise. So she makes these grand recommendations and sometimes, gift suggestions for holidays, which, oh, your mother would love this ring. It costs $500,000. Run out and get it. So she's been accused sometimes of being a little disconnected from the people.
A little.
I don't mind her. I must say she's another one of the 50 and fabulous category. She looks great. Her job has become sort of her body, her brand, her image. And she works hard at it. She works out and does yoga and the intermittent fasting and the keto and the paleo. And so she, on a podcast last week with her physician, she was talking about the fact that she has long COVID. She believes it comes with residual inflammation in her body and that her doctor, Dr. Cole, has advised her on a particular diet. She begins her day at noon. She sips on some bone broth. She then for dinner goes crazy with a few vegetables. And there was a lot of feedback on how realistic is this for the rest of us. But hey, it's hard to look that good for this long. And she's always showing us peelings and supplements, and she used to be macrobiotic, she used to be vegan, and she dabbles in all of these wellness suggestions, which may or may not be realistic for the rest of us. And there's also been an accusation that the timing of the podcast perhaps was to distract from the fact that she's taking the stand in court in a legal case for an unfortunate ski accident that happened back in 2016. She's being sued, I believe, for $300,000, and her countersuit is for $1 single dollar because she's not in it for the money. She's in it for justice. The claim of a 76-year-old retired ophthalmologist is that she skied right into him, causing fractured ribs, that it was a hit and run, that she kept on going, and others are saying that it's not exactly accurate. She had a ski instructor with her. He rammed into her. They did stay and help. He just, when he realized who the stranger under the ski goggles was, saw an opportunity. So we don't know how the case will go, but there's been some negative press around her, which she isn't used to. And now here we are talking about her diet again.
But, this is the thing for me with celebrities. I often wonder if they're not just sitting ducks for people who want to make a quick buck. And, when you're talking about recommending candles that smell like your hoo-hoo or a ring that costs, I don't know, $500,000, it kind of does make you vulnerable to perhaps some opportunistic schemes. But I mean, I look at this whole celebrity wellness world. We've got Gwyneth with Goop, Kourtney Kardashian with Poosh. I mean, do you have to have that like double O? And she whose name shall not be mentioned, maybe bringing back her Tig, or maybe it's going to be called the Toog, keeping with the double O trend. I mean, how realistic is it for people to be taking wellness advice from celebrities who earn a fortune, can clearly afford these ludicrous therapies and whatnot? Who are they trying to appeal? Do we need more of these wellness blogs? Sites?
You know what? It's aspirational, as is a lot of the Hollywood content that we consume. And traditionally, for many years, celebrities were used as the faces of various commercials, trying to promote things. So people do look at Gwyneth Paltrow in 50 and say, what does she do? And has she had work done? And what does she eat? And so, this new medium, new-ish, of direct communication with consumers and not having to be, in a print ad for Chanel, but being able to have a podcast, have a blog, tell people what you're doing. She's still in it to sell, and she's, there's ulterior motives on the celebrity's part, which is they're being paid heftily, even for just an Instagram mention. But I think there is a market for it, and people do want to know, what do people do? Is there something that is attainable? She talks about dry brushing her skin before a shower, and it's exfoliating, and, have more citrus. There are things that people can implement. At the end of the day, I don't think we have access to the daily trainers, daily chefs, weekly facials, massages, trainers, outfits, glam, hair. it takes a village, which most of us do not have access to, but there is a curiosity, and I think her success really did inspire other celebrities to quickly try and do their own versions as well. She is still front runner in having brought this whole genre to the masses.
Well, this raises an important issue because we see a lot of teenage girls running to Instagram. They want to get that look that they see these celebrities pushing, you know, without realizing that it's a filter. As you say, it takes a village. It's the nutritionist and the stylist and the professional makeup person who's contouring. Sometimes it's the Botox and the fillers. You know, I read the other day an article written by a plastic surgeon who said that women as young as their late teens are coming to him saying, you know, I want this this Botox to look. You know, I want to start having Botox before I start to age. You and I have spoken numerous times about one Madonna who's really going to the extremes. You know, we've got to start asking ourselves, how healthy is social media and these brands and these types of lifestyles that celebrities seem to be pushing?
So some of them do attempt to provide a level of transparency and say, you know, here's a before and after. Here are my pictures on a Sunday morning before I had the team come in. And you know, trying to give sort of helpful tips that people can do, but there is a lot of smoke and mirrors around it, and we have a backlash now of like Black China removing fillers, people removing breast augmentations that they've had, people saying they regret a nose job that they had at 17, and Sharon Stone saying, you know, I used to get Botox, I didn't like what it did to me, I stopped. So there are conversations being had, but even around the Academy Awards, which we spoke about last week, some people showed up with a whole new body, and people are like, well, how have you been working out, Miss Mindy Kaling? Because you look like a fully different person. And there's a lot of discussion about the fact that there's a weight loss injection meant for people with diabetes that a lot of celebrities have been using casually to just drop 5 pounds, which is not what it was intended for. There's actually a worldwide shortage of the drug now that it's been discovered that it has the side effect of weight loss, and those things aren't discussed. So I think, you know, it's up to the celebrity to use the platform for good, and to say, you know, it takes work. This isn't how I woke up. But you see Nicole Kidman, you see Jane Fonda. I mean, this isn't your average looking person for that age, whether it's 80 or 50 or 20. But I don't know. I'm a consumer of this content, and I'm okay with it.
Oh, we love it. I mean, let's not kid. But while we're speaking about the Oscars, you know, you and I are there for the dresses, and we're there for the after party dresses. But you know, some celebrities didn't wear much in terms of dresses to the Oscars. There was one who was wearing, I think, just a feather as a top. I don't know what she was trying to. You know, you can't.
She was trying to be photographed and spoken about because
well, we are. But
we are.
You know, people like Emily Ratajkowski talk about how empowering it is for women. You know, when they walk around wearing next to nothing. I don't know about you, but I don't see it as empowering. If anything, it makes me feel disempowered and brings up every body issue that I may have because I don't look like that.
I also think it's sort of a reverse trajectory of actual fame and success, because it's not Meryl Streep who's dressing that way, and it's not even Angelina Jolie or Halle Berry. The stars that are winning the awards tend to not be the nude ones. And I think it's the ladies who show up on the carpet and think that perhaps without this shock value moment of, oh my God, gasp, horror, shock, look what she's wearing or not wearing, they might not be covered and getting press at all. And they've chosen that route. I don't know if I begrudge them for it. We're not here to tell women what's allowed and not allowed, but I think that the test of who is beautifully dressed and glamorous and looking chic and elegant, and who is just, you know, one wardrobe malfunction away from being a scandal, speaks for itself.
And I just think, at the Oscars after party, that's your opportunity to celebrate the winners and the nominees. And I think it's kind of selfish to take that attention away from people who have won their awards.
Well, it's a fight out there. Everyone is trying to be remembered, be recognized, be relevant, and they're using all their tools to do so.
Well, let's talk about somebody who seems to be a serial fiance, somebody who neither of us are huge fans of, Mr. Rupert Murdoch getting engaged again at 92. It's about love, right?
Geriatric romance at its finest. Yes, Mr. Murdoch at 92, media mogul, worth about $20 billion with a B, and is under some, I don't know if he's delusional enough to believe that it is love, and whether he thinks that regularly 92-year-old men get engaged for the fifth time. The age difference is, she's 66, so at least she's not a child bride, but still, quite controversial, not generally considered to be a very nice man. I guess it takes some elbows and pushing to become the head of News Corp's, own part of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, Fox News, The Sun, The Times. He's Australian originally, but owns a lot of the media that we are exposed to. He has 6 children from 4 previous marriages, and there's always this conversation that the very popular show Succession, which I adore, and the 4th season is beginning to air later this week, is based on Mr. Murdoch and his children and the succession of this media mogul and who's going to take it forward, because at age 92, we wish him good health and long life, but time's ticking. And I don't know what the prenup situation is with wife number 5. I don't know. We tend to find it grosser, I think, when it's in this direction. We were a little more supportive when it was Cher with her underage lover, but since that's not how things usually go. But traditionally, over time, there is a mathematical equation of rich men equal with younger women. All is forgiven, all options are open when the bank account is hefty.
Must be love. To be a prenup lawyer working on that. I was going to say to you, it's like the plot of Succession.
It is. It's rumored to be based on him. A difficult man with children who all want to be the next star.
I feel like, while we're talking about older men and TV shows, I have to give an honorable shout out to one, Mr. Kevin Costner. If anybody's been watching Yellowstone, Kevin Costner, if you're listening, and we know you might be, can we just say how you are aging like a fine whiskey?
Well, I'm glad he has your approval. We do. We were on board for Richard Gere, George Clooney, our various aging leading men. Some of them also have a little nips and tucks and hair dye and various assistants. They need to keep up with their leading ladies, who for some reason are still being cast never with age appropriate love interests, always a tremendous age gap. Yes. But
before I let you go, because I love speaking to you so much, a lady who you and I are very fond of, who's also aging like the finest whiskey, and there ain't nothing like a Dame Helen Mirren.
Oh, now that is an example of how to do it right. She's also blessed with some excellent genes and looks fantastic, but remains her human self and doesn't look like a plastic version frozen in a state of fright. And she's given us such range, both in her acting and in her style choices. Always a little whimsical, always, maybe it's the British version of just being a little self-deprecating, making fun of herself, but ain't nothing to make fun of, because I am all snaps for her stylish red carpet moments and her serious work as an actress. So she's really the best of both worlds.
A dame playing a prime minister and also playing a queen. And thank you to this queen of the entertainment world, Yael Kinar. thank you for doing a double duty for us today. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. I can talk
A
to you.
civil service we must provide for the people.
And you do it so well. That's going to be it from me today on Modiin and Beyond. A huge thank you to Adam Levick, the co-editor of Camera UK, our fabulous entertainment guru, Yael Kinar. We still have had technical problems cutting through to Los Angeles, but we hope to bring you an interview with Kinsey Scofield soon. A massive thank you to the man who makes it all happen behind the scenes, Per Atia, and to you, the listeners, for joining me this morning on Modiin and Beyond. I'm Rolene Marks. This is Modiin and Beyond. Don't forget to join me again next week at 10 o'clock for a look at what's happening in our fair city, Beyond.
מי אתה ומה אתה אוהב, וכמה מחשבות תגיד על מה אתה חושב, ואיך אתה לא מזמין לחתונה, תגיד היה שם רב או שזה סתם היה שכונה. תנו לי לענות, תנו לי להסביר איך אני אוהב את הקטסטרופה של העיר. תנו לי ליהנות, תנו לי להזיז, לפתוח את הכל כמו שמפניה בפריז. תנו לי לענות, תנו לי להסביר איך אני אוהב את הקטסטרופה של העיר. תנו לי ליהנות, תנו לי להזיז, לפתוח את הכל כמו שמפניה בפריז. בא לי בלילות לרקוד עם כוכבים, לזרוק את הבגדים, לא לחשוב אם מסתכלים, ובא לי בזריחות לחגוג את החיים, לברוח לפעמים, כי גם ככה פה זה בית משוגעים. מתי אתה החלטת לצאת? תגיד זה לא אתה, זה שהיה אז אם נינט. מתי תביא לנו טלנובלה? וואלה החיים שלך זה סרט באמת. תנו לי לענות, תנו לי להסביר, וואלה יש מצב הייתי אז עם חצי עיר. תנו לי ליהנות, תנו לי להזיז, לפתוח את הכל כמו שמפניה בפריז. בא לי בלילות לרקוד עם כוכבים, לזרוק את הבגדים, לא לחשוב אם מסתכלים, ובא לי בזריחות לחגוג את החיים, לברוח לפעמים, כי גם ככה פה זה בית משוגעים. זה בית משוגעים. חזרתי מניו יורק אחרי כמה שנים, מזוודה אחת לדירת 2 חדרים, ביפו על הגג כתבתי לי שירים, לא היה לאן לברוח, רציתי רק לחזור ישר לבית משוגעים. זה בית משוגעים.